Once, in a dusty, forgotten attic of a centuries-old theater, 3 masks lay in silence. These were no ordinary masks. They were the masks of comedy, tragedy, and something else. They had been part of countless performances, worn by countless actors, but now they rested, waiting for someone to remember their stories. Comedy, with its wide grin and mirthful eyes, was confident, as always. Ah, what a life we've had! Applause, laughter, the joy of making people forget their misery for a while. The world needs me more than ever. Tragedy, somber and hollow-eyed, sighed deeply. Yes, they laughed, but they laughed to forget. Me, I'm the truth they hide from. Their grief, their failures, their loneliness. You, comedy, are just the sugar-coating. And then there was the third mask sitting between them, a strange, twisted amalgamation of the two. It had a smile that didn't quite reach its eyes, and an expression that shifted depending on how the dim attic light struck it. It was the mask of Modernity, though really it had no official name. Modernity chuckled, a sound like a nervous laugh in a quiet room. You two are so old-fashioned. Who even wears just one mask anymore? These days, we're all comedy and tragedy all the time, smiling while we cry, crying while we smile. It's called being relatable. Comedy rolled its eyes. Oh, please, what could you possibly know about entertainment? You're just confusion in papier-mâché. Modernity grinned wider, its painted features unsettling in their ambiguity. Confusion? Oh no, I'm clarity. I'm the mask people wear when they pretend their joys are endless and their sorrows are brief, when they laugh to silence the ache beneath, when they perform certainty while drowning in doubt. I am the face they show the world, the illusion they cling to, the comfort of a lie told often enough to feel like truth. I'm the mask. Tragedy leaned forward, intrigued. And what do they feel when they wear you? Modernity's expression shifted, mock sympathy, then something too knowing. Ah, that's the beauty. They feel seen, loved even. But it's a love that's hollow, fleeting. They're celebrated for their pain as long as it's palatable, their joy as long as it's marketable. And when they falter, when they crack, the audience moves on to the next act, leaving them shattered. Comedy and tragedy exchanged uneasy glances. That's horrifying, Comedy muttered. Is it? Modernity asked, almost sweetly. Or is it just honest? I am the perfect mask for an age where everything is a performance. People don't want pure joy or pure sorrow. They want something in between, a pain that's pleasing, a happiness that's restrained, emotion but never too raw, truth but never too exposed. And I deliver. For a moment the 3 masks sat in silence, the dim light of the attic casting long shadows on their painted features. Finally, Comedy spoke, trying to sound confident but faltering. But surely, eventually, they'll see through you. They'll take you off. Modernity's painted smile didn't change, but something in it felt sharper. Oh, Comedy. Sweet, simple Comedy, they don't want to take me off. I've become part of their faces. They wouldn't know who they are without me. Tragedy shuddered as if feeling a chill in the air. And when they can't take you off, what happens then? Modernity tilted its head, feigning innocence. Well, then they're trapped. Trapped in a performance they can't end, playing a role they didn't choose for an audience that doesn't care. And isn't that the ultimate tragedy? The attic door creaked open suddenly, and a shaft of light fell on the masks. Someone was coming, a young actor searching for inspiration. His eyes lit up at the sight of the masks, and he reached out, hesitating. Comedy tried to call out, "Choose me! Bring back laughter to the world!" Tragedy whispered, "Pick me. Let them feel the depth of true emotion again." But the third mask said nothing. It simply waited, confident. As the young actor's fingers brushed against its surface, the painted smile shifted, just slightly. A knowing smirk. A flicker of something alive beneath the lacquer. The air in the attic seemed to tighten. Without hesitation, as if compelled, the actor picked it up and placed it over his face. And just before the world disappeared behind the mask's hollow eyes, he swore he heard something, not a voice, but a whisper, a breath, a silent promise carried on the dust and shadows. Of course you choose me. The show must go on. The stage lights burned bright, illuminating the actor's face, warped now by the mask. It was a contradiction, a smile warm and inviting, yet stretched at the edges as if it might crack. The eyes shimmered, not with sorrow, not with joy, but with something in between. Something uncertain, something nameless. He took a breath, and then he began. Laughter spilled from his lips, effortless and bright, but beneath it something else pulsed, a quiet tremor, a sorrow too well hidden to name. He danced between humor and heartbreak, weaving them together so seamlessly that neither could be separated. The audience leaned forward, enthralled. They laughed, they gasped. Some even wiped their eyes, unsure whether they were moved by comedy or tragedy. It didn't matter. The performance was flawless. And when the final line was spoken, half a joke, half a confession, the applause erupted, deafening, stretching on and on. The lights burned bright, the faces in the crowd blurred together. The actor stood there, breathing hard, trembling, grinning. The mask did not move, but beneath it he felt something shift. The longer he wore it, the more it felt like it was not just a mask, but a second skin. A role he no longer understood, but one he could not stop playing. And as the applause roared on, he felt the terrible realization creep in. If he took it off now, what would be left underneath? Much later, when the lights had faded and the crowd had gone home, the actor returned to the attic. His steps were slow, uncertain. His hands trembled as he lifted the mask away from his face. He placed it carefully back on the dusty wooden floor, between comedy and tragedy. For a moment he hesitated, staring at it. Then he turned to the old, cracked mirror in the corner. He met his own reflection. A face, familiar, and yet something was missing, something was wrong. He reached up hesitantly, touching his bare skin. It felt cold, unfinished. A hollow panic twisted in his chest. Had he worn the mask too long? Had it taken something with it when he removed it? Or worse, had it left something behind? He swallowed hard and turned away from the mirror. Without another glance, he descended the attic stairs, leaving the masks in the dark once more. In the gloom of the attic, comedy and tragedy sat in silence as the air grew heavier and the shadows stretched longer. Eventually, comedy let out a hollow chuckle. Maybe they really don't need us anymore. Tragedy only shuddered. Modernity said nothing. It simply sat between them, its painted smile unchanged, watching, waiting, because it knew. The show would go on. And soon someone else would come looking for a mask.